Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Nature of Predators. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 58. Memory Transcription Subject Slanek, then Null Space Corps. Date Standardized Human Time, October 8th, 2136. The tension was palpable as the Oxor occupants studied Marcel in silence. I gathered that the human didn't want to engage with them either. The predatory savagery from the cradle plagued my recollection, and the chilling screams of the unfortunate Gojits echoed on loop. It would be all too easy for the Greys to gut either of us, with the swipe of their fangs. Chief Hunter Isaac dropped into the seat right next to us. The monster was inches away from me. It disregarded the shift in Marcel's body language. The human had leaned away, though there wasn't anywhere to go in the helicopter cabin. I got the impression his concern was for me, rather than himself. After the attack on Earth, it's like he doesn't care what happens to him. If I wasn't about to be carved up, I'd insist to seek help. Yusuf bared his teeth ferociously. Well, I've introduced myself. What is your name, Venlil? Its voice was discordant snarl, amplifying humanity's typical rumble by 1,000-fold. A pathetic squeak escaped my throat, and I sobbed into Marcel's shirt. The vegetarian stroked my ear with patience, unfazed by the salty wetness soaking the fabric. I didn't know how even to persistence predator could be so calm in the face of such an eyesore. That scaly demon was a sensory hell. I'd rather be hunted by Marcel's kind for hours than look at Isip for another second. Okay, that was the response I expected, the Oxal sighed. What are you called, human? The human stiffened. Marcel Fraser, but just Marcel is fine. The Venlil here, his name is Slanek. I knew you hadn't lost your voice for Marcel. Slanek here is on Tarba's behalf, yes? My ears perked up in alarm. How did Isip even know that name? That must mean the Oxer were targeting the governor, or had other nefarious plans for her. I refused to believe the humans would betray us by turning into intel over to the Republic. Marcel offered a curt head shake. Slanek is a fighter pilot. We're training him to be a proper soldier. Ha! Good one. As if the specimen could fight. Isip's eyes glittered with a decadent mirth, before the expression dissolved. Oh, Prophet, you're serious, aren't you? The red-haired human glared at the floor, not answering the reptile. It was clear my friend had little interest in the conversation. I think he only entertained the first question to get the commander to leave me alone. The monstrous predator gave up and turned its focus to the window. Our helicopter drifted above the sea of rubble, which stretched to the horizon. Building husks lingered as statues to a fallen world. The fires were splashed across the landscape. The ground was carved in a thick coating of soot. This looked like the aftermath of an Oxor raid. My heart sank in my chest as I realized how dire the outlook was for Marcel's family. The human pilot guided the craft towards the designated neighborhood. Chief Hunter Isaac craned his neck, narrowed its disgusting eyes with solemnness. I didn't understand what game it was playing, trying to make nice with the humans. It must have some dastardly plan at work. The Oxor commander maintained the brooding expression as we touched down. It ordered the other Greys to sweep the area for survivors and accrue intel for their government. Marcel rose to his feet to follow, but Isip blocked the human's path. The scaly monster gestured to the devastation behind him. What do you think of what the Federation did, Slanek? The chief hunter growled. My ears laid flat against my skull. I think, it looks a lot like what you do. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Ah, that is a good answer. You think our species is an instrument of evil, yet you admit your friends are no different. The Federation are monsters, not friends, but they don't eat people. Because they don't have to. You all want my kind wiped from existence. Hell, you probably wish I'd drop dead right now. Do you even see us as people? After everything you've done, you'll never be people. To anyone. My sudden outburst took me by surprise. Marcel's fingers tensed around my scruff, and his stance shifted to a defensive posture. That commentary placed my human in a precarious situation. My money wasn't on the wounded, squishy primate if this turned physical. I should have never boarded this aircraft to begin with. The Oxor raised the ridges above its eyes and turned around with a sigh. Isif somehow restrained its aggression. The pointed huff emanated disappointment. It drew its sidearm before shuffling into the ruins of New York. Marcel followed with a bit of hesitancy. I'm sorry for what Slanek said, Chief Hunter. Any sapient is a person, no matter what they've done. Is that so, human? The reptile grumbled. Look, our race has become a shell of itself over the centuries. I wish it wasn't like this. My eyes widened in surprise. Polite concessions, lamenting their current status. Wasn't what I expected it to say. For an emotionless predator, it was doing an excellent job at emulating regret. The fear eased enough for me to wonder what it had to gain from this act. The Oxor never attempted to converse with prey, as a rule. Why are you so cruel and merciless? The words spewed from my mouth in a rambling fervor. Why did you kill my brother and bomb my planet and eat people alive while they were running? Its nostrils flared. Yes, it's well documented that I did all of those things personally. I'm a busy guy. I get around. Your species. Don't mock me, demon. There's no reason your breed are that cruel and morally deficient. The Federation are the reason we're starving. Cruelty was and is a defense mechanism, in my view. I'm not excusing it. I'm answering your insults. Defense mechanism? How so? It was needed as a way to cope with what we had to do to survive. We're also fighting a war of extinction, well, vastly outnumbered. So it serves psychological purposes too. Encourage recorded sadism. The Federation loses because they're afraid. The Oxor crested a mountain of rubble, and Marcel escorted us atop the debris too. One human was crawling through the street with serious burns across her extremities. Her breathing came in ragged gasps, and the sight of peeling flesh made me wince. 2 Zerulean medics had arrived on the scene already, and Americans must have directed them to a separate landing site from the Greys. A young volunteer rushed to the burned victim's side, repeating soothing words. The other quadruped kept a wide berth from the aggrieved human and trembled in terror. Willen, I need a dose of painkillers and antiseptics now, the youthful Zerulean chimed in. Willen flicked his ears in skepticism. You know nothing about these predators, other than that the Oxor like them. Our government has gone mad, Fraser. I can't get close to this thing. Isab's scowl intensified. The hunter gripped its sidearm with malicious intent. Rich hunger danced in its gaze, and it shared an enraged glance with Marcel. For once, I agreed with the monster. We couldn't let the medics dilly-dally with an agonized human. Fraser rounded on her partner. What we know is that humans haven't done anything wrong. They sought peace, and we're brutally attacked for it. Also, the Venlil, our ambassador, adore them. But they are predators. I'm here for the Venlil. No, we don't play God and pick and choose who we help. We save lives indiscriminately. Get with that, or get the feck out of my sight. The injured human watched with glassy eyes. Willen lowered its head before crouching at Fraser's side. He began applying wet dressings and antiseptics while his partner tended to the pain. The Zeruleans then prepped for transport to the hospital ship. Isif lowered its gun and watched as the quadruped strained to lift the human. The Oxor marched down to the site, swishing its tail in a display of dominance. The Zeruleans dropped the patient when they saw the Grey skulking towards them. I was worried the abomination had regained its appetite too. Maybe it likes charred flesh like Tyler did. It could see the tear and burn victim as a perfect meal. Oh, stars! The chief hunter lifted the primate onto the gurney and fastened the straps in seconds. It backed away and growled to get the medic's attention. Fraser was wielding a syringe in her mouth, pointing it as if a shot of painkillers would stop a murderous demon. Stay back! The human Zerulean quivered, and seemed aghast at the sight of my human behind the Grey. Human! And Venlo, please help us! It's kidnapping my patient! I'm not kidnapping the human. I put her on the stretcher so you can move her for evac. Isif growled. If I was hostile, trust me, you would know. I'm subtle as a sledgehammer. Marcel trundled up beside the Oxor. The last Federation physician I met wanted me dissected. Our doctors pledged to do no harm. It's a relief to see someone mirror the sentiment of the Hippocratic Oath. Willen squinted at the vegetarian. You're that human named Marcel from Noah's video. I recognize you. Chud, Brazier squeaked. I'm sorry for what they did to you. Your treatment went against every ethical principle that we stand for. The chief hunter inspected the red-haired human with confused eyes. The demonic predator mouthed the name Noah to itself and nodded something on its holopad. I think it wanted to ask what happened to my friend. Obviously, a feral animal that loathed weakness would mock his traumatic experience. Marcel pointed a hand to the stretcher, and the Zerillian settled up to it, patient hesitantly. Isif slunk beside them, moving to the brunt of the weight. The medic shuffled in terrified stupor, and the oddball group traversed the ruins. It was sad to see Earth was like this, having witnessed the city in its sprawling glory days ago. It took several minutes to reach the Zerillian hospital ship, which was hovering over a decimated roadway. We glimpsed rows of beds in its loading bay, and my human eyes widened with hope. Panicked shouts echoed from the ship's occupants as the reptile sighted. The chief hunter ducked its head, perhaps to seem less threatening. The Orcs pulled away, and more Zerillian medics hurried over to lug the patient on board. Brazier and Willem bore delirious eyes, which suggested the fear was overstimulating them. That little exertion must have been psychological torment to them. Have you rescued a Gojid child, hopefully with a human female? My human growled. Willen blinked. What? A Gojid? You know, spiky brown-furred, big claws. Where is she? The Zerillians cowered at Marcel's roar, and their hackle fur stood on end. I swatted my tail at his chin, warning him to calm down. His desperation was something I recognized, but these medics didn't understand humans yet. They probably thought that he was about to go on a rampage. Mark is very upset and loud, but he's harmless, I hissed. Please, just tell us if you've seen a Gojid. Brazier drew a shaky breath. No, only humans. I can check with our groups in the other cities, Willem added hurriedly. Maybe Berlin, Toronto, Bangkok, or Manila. Big predator drillings there. Marcel slumped his shoulders in defeat. No, they were here. They? Oh, I see. Understanding flashed in Isip's pupils. Why don't we search for your packmates at their last location? These Zerillians could help us look around. The human nodded, blinking away tears. The Orcs focused on his watery eyes and gave him a rough tail slap on the arm. If I didn't know better, I would think this poor attempt at comfort. Their species devoid of empathy was mimicking a trait, of course. Isip was clearly awkward and unpracticed at that falsified aspect. Valasia's gaze softened as she shared a glance with her partner. We'll help you search. But I prepare for the likeliest possibility. As a predator, you should be logical about the situation, Willem said. Willem, he clearly grasped the extent of the dead. There's nothing logical about this. Where are we going, Marcel? The red-haired primate browsed his holopad and searched the location via GPS. The local terrain was unrecognizable, so I doubted that he could distinguish Nulia's bunker from the other scrap heap. The device pinpointed a location 1/4 of a mile from the hospital ship. All I could see there was a thick hill of concrete. Anything living must be crushed beneath that. It's likely the bunker collapsed from pressure. Marcel would barely put pressure on his injured leg, but he staggered ahead for a minute-long trek. I could feel the human's grief expanding with every step. My predator was cracking alongside the buildings of New York. It hurt to see my friend, who I believe could withstand any emotion, crumbling. His distress frightened me as much as the hideous Orcs flanking us. Marcel reached the selected debris mound, and I dismounted onto my own paws. This must be the fallout shelter his family relocated to. The human hurled himself on all floors, flinging the smallest rocks behind him in a frenzy. An animalistic grunt reverberated from his chest as he strained against his arm injury to tug at a massive rock chunk. Chief Hunter Asif pressed his shoulder against the debris and moved it enough to leave a tiny gap. Marcel pawed at the scraps below, trying to catch glimpses of the shelter. He dug furiously with his flimsy fingers. Blood streamed from the dust-caked nails, but that only quickened his scrabbling. "Lucy! Nulia!" he wailed. in the highest-pitched voice that I'd ever heard him use. There was no reply from beneath the ruins. Through choking sobs, my friend returned to passing rocks with his hands. His fingers were drenched in crimson blood. Sympathy clasped my heart in a vice-like grip, and I tackled him with a desperate hug. "Mark, stop it! You're hurting yourself," I pleaded. Frazier placed a cautious paw on his neck. "That's enough. We'll excavate the bodies and make sure they get a proper burial by your customs. I promise." The human collapsed atop the wreckage and pressed an eye against the opening. He screamed incoherently, punching the rubble in outrage. I watched the life leave his sweet countenance. Even the gushing tears dried up. My friend was unresponsive, then prating. Willem dabbed at his eyes, affected by the extent of the predator's raw emotions. I recognized that realization as he decided humans were sapient. Anyone who saw this display as a performance had to be heartless. There must be countless others across Earth in such a state. I nuzzled his leg. "Step aside and rest, please. Let the doctors disinfect your wounds." "Why?" the human croaked. "They've taken everything. Hush the neck. Put me out of my
Marcel!
A childish voice cried, faintly audible.
Where have you been? It's really dark down here. I don't like the dark."
Marcel's head snapped up. "You're alive! I'm coming! Just hold on. We're working as fast as we can."
I want to go somewhere safe now. Somewhere monsters won't find me or pick on you or eyes. Don't leave me here, Marcy.
Never. I'm right here. A chorus of human growls joined Nulia as they realized rescuers were above. Relief coursed through my veins against all odds. Some of the bunker withstood the blast. Chief Hunter Issav radioed to send heavy machinery to our coordinates, and withdrew with a fierce snarl. Untrustworthy as it was, I couldn't deny it had been helpful so far. Amidst the chaos and devastation on Earth, it was a relief to save a few human lives from the ashes. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.